Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. This video is all about classes and objects. So, let's start the video. First, we will learn what is a class. A class is a process of naming a class and data variables and interface operations of the class. What is a class? A class is a process of naming a class and data variables and some operations of the class. Let's see how with the help of a syntax. So, this is the syntax of a class. If we want to first write a class, first we will give a name to that class, right? And we will open a flower bracket and we have some access specifiers and some data members and also some data functions in this class. And we will close the flower bracket where our class ends here. Let's understand each operations of these things which are inside the class. Data variables are known as members data of the class, which describes the characteristics of the class. Member functions are the set of operations that are performed on the objects of the class. There may be 0 or more member functions in a class. This is known as interface operations. The access control specifiers to the class members within a program are specified, and class tag name for external operations for accessing and manipulating the instance of a class. Class tag name is nothing but the name of the class. Now we will see what are access specifiers and what are their functions in a class. Generally, we have three types of access specifiers, and they are: first, let's see what is a private access specifier. So the definition is: private access means a member data can only be accessed by the member functions. Member declared under private are accessible only within the class. If no access specifier is mentioned, then by default members are private. So let's understand this with the help of an example. In the private section, I have int x and int y. And as the statement says, to access them, we should access through the member functions, right? And there is another statement in this, that is by default members are private. It means if I simply write int x and float y without even mentioning any access specifier, then it will be considered as private only. So it is not necessary to mention private, as by default we write any member, then it will be considered as private. This is all about private access specifier. Now let's see what is a public access specifier. The statement goes like this: public access means that members can be accessed by a function even outside the class also. How? Here we have an example. You all can see that you have a program in front of you where the class name is box, and length and width are public and height is private in this, right? And I have a member function here called as void setHeight and int getHeight. Now observe that how we access the public and private members. Here we have box, which is class name, and object called as object only. We will see what is this object creating and all in the next slide. But if we observe here, we can access the length and width directly with the help of an object, and we will pass the values. But whereas in private we have accessed it through the member function, that is height is accessed with the help of setHeight and then values are passed. Now you got to know the difference between public and private and how they can be accessed and all. And this is how a public access specifier works. Now the last one we have is protected access specifier. So the definition goes like this: the members which are declared using protected can be accessed only by the member functions, friends of the class, and also by the member functions derived from this class. The members cannot be accessed from outside. The protected access specifier is therefore similar to private access specifier. This is kind of similar to private access specifier. The members which are declared using protected can be accessed only by the member functions or friends of the class and also by the member functions derived from this class. and the members cannot be accessed from the outside, and this is the only difference we have in the protected access specifier. Now we will see where and when the member functions can be defined. Okay, so the member functions can be defined in two places. One is inside class definition and other is outside class definition. First, we will see about inside class definition and later we will go for outside class definition. So the inside class definition, the definition of the inside class is the class function declaration within the class is replaced by actual function definition inside the class. A function defined in a class is treated as inline function. So now we will see the syntax of the inside class definition. So the syntax says, first we will type the return type and we'll give the class name and we will have some member functions. Now let's understand this with the help of an example. Here we have a class and the name of the class is rectangle, okay? And I have two members data here, which are those int length and int breadth, and they are private. How? Because I have not mentioned any access specifier. Then how it is private? Because as we have learnt in the previous slide that if we don't mention any access specifier, then by default the compiler considers it as private. So I said these data variables or members data are private. And then we have two member functions which are public. Those are void get data and void put data. And this is a program which reads and prints the output of length and breadth. Okay. Now I have defined these member functions inside the class, that is scene length, scene breadth, and also cout length, cout breadth. Here declaration is void get data of and void put data of, and the definition is scene length and scene breadth or cout length and cout breadth. These are called as declaration. And as you all can see that I have defined these inside the class itself and not outside the class. So that is the simple reason we name it as inside class definition. Similarly, what is outside class definition? The definition which we define outside the class is called as outside class definition. Simple. But there is a small change that here we will use scope resolution operator, which tells the compiler that this function belongs to which class. Now let's see how and where this scope resolution operator will be used. Before going to example, just have a look on the syntax, and also don't forget to practice the whichever syntax comes in this video, because there are chances of getting these questions to write a syntax in exams. If you listen to this video without skipping even 10 seconds, then you will understand full concept. So the syntax goes like this. First we have return type and class name and the scope resolution operator. This is called as scope resolution operator, and we have member functions and we have some parameters if we required, and under the flower brackets we will give the body of the function. Example of this. First we'll see the characteristics of this. The type and number of arguments in member functions must be same as types and number of data declared in class definition. That is nothing but type of arguments and number of arguments in the member function must be same as type of data and number of data declared in class definition. Simple. And the second point says that the symbol scope resolution is known as, this symbol is known as scope resolution operator. Usage of scope resolution operator along with the class name is the header of function definition. The scope resolution operator identifies the function as a member of particular class. As I have said you, the scope resolution identifies that this function belongs to which class, and this is the job of the scope resolution operator. And the third point is, several classes can use same function name. Membership label will resolve their scope. And the fourth point is, this you all know that member functions can access private data of a class, a non-member function cannot. as I have said you, only a member function can access the private data and a non-member function cannot. Now we will see the example of this outside class definition. As usual, we have a class and name I have given to this class is operation. So in general we can call it as class operation, right? And what and all you can see in this class, can you identify? We have two data members, those are private int a and private int b, and two member functions, those are int sum of and int product of, right? So here the class is closed with the closed operation of flower bracket because a class is defined inside a pair of flower brackets, right? Here let's define the function from the outside the class. So according to the syntax, first we have return type, that is int, and class name, that is operation, and scope resolution operator, and member function, that is sum, and some arguments if we required. And then in place of body of the function we will add the two variables because we want the sum of them, right? But can you guess why I am using return here? Because as we are defining this outside the class, the values which are added should be returned back to the class to get an output, right? Similarly, it happens same process with the product operation, which is nothing but multiplication of the two variables. And finally, we have defining objects of a class. And don't worry, in this also everything is same, but only at the last part while giving an output we will make small changes, that's it. It's not difficult. When a class is defined, it specifies the type information the objects of the class store. Once the class is defined, an object is created from that class. The objects of a class are declared in same manner like any other variable declaration. Now quickly have a look on syntax. So you all can see here that in the syntax we have a class and a user defined name, and as usual we will have some access specifiers, and I'll close the bracket. But while creating the object, first I will write user defined name, that is class name, and I will write objects, object 1, object 2, object 3 or object n. Now we will understand this with the help of an example. As usual, we first have a class and a data member which is private, that is int b. Two member functions get data and display data, which simply means this program will read the data and shows the output of the data. Now clear? Let's understand how to create an object and what is the use of this creating an object. The object is created outside the class, so we will close the flower bracket here, and then we will write the user defined name, that is nothing but the class name, and here what is the class name? Num, right? And we should and must write class name same to same and exactly matching to the class name which we have given to a class. Otherwise it won't identify that this function belongs to which class. So I will write same to same name, that is num. I will create some objects, and for objects you can give any name. Here I have given s1 and s2. Now let's start accessing them. First we will read the data, for example 10, and we will display it. And with the help of another object we have created, we will read and display another data, that is 15. And this is how we read and display the data with the help of an object. So what happens here is, first I have written s1.getData of 10, right? So where does this 10 goes? It goes to int c, right? And what does this int c does? It sends that 10 to b, and 10 is stored in b, okay? And same thing happens with 15. But guys, in between you may ask me a question, that is, as already 10 is stored in the b, and how can we again store 15 in that b? How is that possible? It's completely wrong which you guys are thinking, because as many as objects we create, that many number of copies will be created of the data variables. So how it stores is, once we pass 10, it stores in s1.b, and this is one copy which is reserved for that object s1, okay? And again when we pass 15, with the help of that object s2, and that 15 will be stored in s2.b, which is the another copy of that variable. Understood? But in the same time, remember that once we create a number of objects, it creates that many number of copies of data variables only. It creates only data variables only. And member functions has nothing to do with the objects, only data variables copies will increase. And this is how we can use the objects. And advantage is, if we want the same class to run twice rather than creating another class, we can pass n number of values inside that class separately without disturbing the previously passed values with the help of the objects. I hope you all understood this concept. And if you want me to make more videos of the same kind, then you have to do me a favor. That is, just click on that subscribe button and wait for the next video. And also don't forget to press on the bell button so that you get notifications as soon as I post videos. Okay? So, see you in the next videos guys. Keep supporting me and thank you for watching.